everyone, what's going on? George, the Disney Italiano, coming to you with another video on Citrico Central. But this time, I got a guest with me, Shawn from Walt's apartment. Great guy, loved collaborating with him and his team over at Walt's Apartments several times, also with my boy OG. So glad to have him on Citrico Central, and it's going to be a great time, but maybe not a great time for me
Oh, it's not
because
gonna be too bad.
yeah, he has some business to attend to with my my top 10 favorite all-time rides at Disney. But before we get into that, Shawn, welcome in, my friend, and let everyone know where they can find you on social media.
Thanks, man. I appreciate it. Yeah, you could social media. We are Walt's Apartment Productions. You can find us on TikTok at Walt's Apartment Productions. I think Walt's Apartment Productions on Facebook and YouTube. It's all the same thing. Yeah, I appreciate you having me, and I can't wait to dive into this topic because you got my juices boiling the other day, man. I'm like, what? But yeah, I'm excited. So let's have some fun.
Awesome. All right. Well, yeah, let's dive right into it. So just recently I released a video of my top 10 favorite Disney rides of all time. It was a compilation of both Disneyland and Walt Disney World. Then I realized, like, as I finished, that there were several things that I kind of missed out on. And I thought, geez, that was kind of harder than what I thought it was, because when you're just confining everything down to just 10, and I thought, well, maybe I should have did a top 15. Maybe I should have done a top 20. But so Shawn, I'll actually pass it along to you, because since you had some things you wanted to say to me, so let's dive into the conversation.
There was just so many things that you didn't mention. You didn't. I mean, you give Pirates of the Caribbean an honorable mention. I was so angry when you did that. Haunted Mansion is a honorable mention. Come on, George. I know you're a Walt Disney World guy, but now that you're here, I think you'll change your mind. Now that you're here in California, you'll change your mind as to what your favorites are.
Well, here's the funny thing, and yes, I am technically, I started out as Walt Disney World, but I'm starting to see that I'm slowly transitioning into Disneyland, especially going 3 to 4 times a week. And maybe that's kind of a little bit of the hindrance of it as well. As much as I love Pirates and I love Haunted Mansion, because Pirates is Abby's all-time favorite ride. Like that's her ride. That's her jam. But I think for me, that depending on the amount of wait time, that if I'm there 3 to 4 times a week, it's like, not saying that they're great rides, but it's like, would I take my time just to do those when I can kind of go on them like anytime that I want to?
That's fair. That's fair.
So since I'm more of a thrill seeker, more like a roller coaster junkie, it's like, where would then I spread my time that I would rather wait in line for? Would I wait in line for Haunted Mansion, or would I wait in line for Mission Breakout? Me personally, I would wait in line for Mission Breakout.
Sure. I absolutely agree. And then your number one, I'm like, what's he talking about? His number one overall is Indiana Jones. I mean, when it's working, it's great, but it's not even on my list.
Really?
Yeah, it's not even on my list.
Indiana Jones is not on your... Wow.
No.
See, I think for me with Indiana Jones is, at the time when the ride was in conception, it was, built and opened in 1995. It wasn't built in 95. It opened in 95. They started, much sooner. But I think for the ride of its time and how it held its legs up with that type of ride system and ride vehicle.
That part I agree with you with, for sure.
Yeah. And I do love the added special effects that they added to it. Then they have the audio animatronic of Indiana Jones, the special effect with the rolling boulder and everything. For me, I feel like that is like storytelling at its best, especially the queue. It's just immaculate. It looks like a film set piece.
You don't realize you're taking a mile of walk to go on a ride, because you're walking through the
So, you're going like under the berm, and you're just kind of like basically going out of the park to experience an in-park experience.
Well, the funny thing is I remember, I've been to Disneyland so much, even when I was a kid, where Indiana Jones show building sits is where the buses would park when you would come with your school. They would literally be in the Eeyore parking lot. And if anyone knows, the Eeyore parking lot sign is up above in the Indiana Jones. If you can look back and see the sign, it's one of the hidden gems on Indiana Jones. But I like the ride. It's just not my top 10. You'll see my top 10 is I'm very history oriented with Disneyland, so
Mhm.
you'll definitely see that in my list. So there's a few in there, but yeah,
Okay.
Indiana
So
Jones is
actually
not number one.
let's dive into that. Like let's start what's your number 10?
My number 10 is the Matterhorn.
Okay.
Yeah. Um, Very uncomfortable to ride because I'm a bigger guy, but still, it's just fun. And I think when I was there, and I think it was still open in April when I was there last. Yeah, you're on that, and you're like, oh, oh, the drops, and it's just the roughest thing in the world. And I hope that they don't get rid of it, but I've heard so many people talking about that it could be time, and I would be so sad
Yeah,
if they.
I actually
I have a
might be.
tattoo of the Matterhorn, so I'd feel really
Oh,
bad
well, there you
if,
go.
if.
Yeah, actually, I'm glad you brought that up because that is a video that I am like considering on making
Mhm.
is the fate of Matterhorn because
Oh
it
yeah.
really is a great ride. It's a Disneyland classic. They never built the Matterhorn ever,
Mhm.
since they built it in Disneyland, and the placement is something that you would never see again. That it actually occupies space between Fantasyland and
Yeah,
Tomorrowland. Like you will never get that ever again. If they're going to build a ride, it's going to be either in one land or the other. Um, I do have concerns of that too because
oh, for
it's been
sure.
down for quite a bit,
I
and
don't know.
they don't.
I know you guys are huge Bricky fans, and
Yes.
Dave from Fresh Baked. Dave did a video a couple weeks ago with one of his construction updates, and he was saying they couldn't even like just take it down and like retrofit it. They would have to like expand it out like 10 to 20 feet on each side, which you couldn't do. It wouldn't fit there anymore. So it's just I hope it doesn't get to that point because of you and OG talked the other night about like old building codes and stuff like that. That's why they can keep this like this because that would not be up to code, today. So it just be so frustrating to see it go. Does it need to
Yes.
be taken? Does it need to be fixed? Yes, but at what cost?
At what cost? And then also too of how it's constructed.
Hmm.
I don't know if they would have to start from the inside out, if they would have to do piece by piece. I think Disney is kind of stuck between a rock and a hard place with it, and I hope that it could be salvaged because it
Yeah.
is a classic, Disney attraction. I could
The same as
imagine.
Everest. It's the same as Everest.
Yes,
They have to tear it down they basically rebuild it.
yeah, and that's why the problem is with Everest. That's why they can't get the Yeti up and running. He's still
Sure.
in disco mode because
That's right.
the platform he's standing on is basically they can't get in there to fix it or that's the downside. It was very articulate of how they built that mountain. It was very creative, but when it came time to maintenance, not the best, route to go. But yeah, I do see like how you can pick the Matterhorn because it is classic. And
Yep.
a piece of advice to you or anyone out there that is riding the Matterhorn, I noticed that if you lean forward and not sit all the way back and move your body with the vehicle, basically like a bobsled, it's not
100%.
as bad.
Yep. Just those couple like drops, those just sudden drops. When you even see them, you're like, oh, they call it the chiropractor for a reason.
Yes.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Yes. Okay, what's your number 9?
What do you want to do my 10, then your 10, or do you want to do all mine first? Or do you have a list, or am I just doing
Yeah,
my
I
list?
do. Yeah, I do have my list. Yeah. Do you want to do it back? Okay,
We
so
can do
my
whatever you
number.
want. I can do all mine, or you can do all yours. It's your show.
Okay,
I'm sorry.
so yeah, we'll go back and forth, kind of like a ping pong. So my number 10 is I chose It's a Small World. Now I mentioned this on my video, and that a lot of people would probably look at me like with 10 heads, like why? So
Mm-hmm.
It's a Small World for me is very nostalgic. I prefer Disneyland's obviously over Magic Kingdom,
100%.
but it just kind of takes me back to my childhood that anytime that my mom and I would go on our vacations, It's a Small World is her favorite ride. So we always got to do it together, even though
Mm-hmm.
Magic Kingdoms is much more crappier than Disneyland's. But it was still just like a great mother son moment. So that's something that I'll always, hold. So that's why
Sure.
it's not my all time favorite ride, but that's why for those purposes, it made my top 10.
Absolutely. I mean, My number 9 is Small World. So I mean, so
Oh,
that's so that works. I mean, yeah, Small World's great. I love the story, like you said, the story behind it, the fact that Walt Disney was so smart to have people pay to have these attractions developed and designed, then he can take them and bring them back to his park, which I think was just a brilliant idea. And that was one of them. To at the World's Fair, he had another company pay to have it all done. And then I'm gonna take that back to my park, and it's gonna be there still like 50 something years old now, so or 60 years old. So it's great. It's fun. It's fun to go in and see like the different things that they add to it. The You've heard like the rumors and stuff like that that people have killed themselves in there and stuff like that. The Small World is cool though. But I love what you said on your video about like the meaning behind it. And I can't about it's about children and bringing them together. And then the new verse is coming in like what,
the
2
new
weeks
verse
now?
will be
Like
coming
2
up.
weeks.
Yeah, July 17th, actually,
Yeah.
Disneyland's birthday. I'm very curious to see how they're gonna incorporate it, if they're gonna
Yeah.
have all the kids sing it in unison, or if they're just gonna have one doll sing maybe towards the end to kind of like finalize the
And
ride.
just have Richard Sherman sing it. That'd be great.
I mean, that would
That
be
was
even,
just drop it on you at the end. That would be just like,
yeah.
let's go. But
I mean, to pay tribute to him in a big
yeah,
way, that was his final piece of music
yeah.
that he wrote for the company that basically he worked for his whole entire life, and to actually have it ingrained in the iconic attraction itself for Disneyland's 70th birthday is
And
just,
the verse is just beautiful. I can't remember it right now, but it's just beautiful. The actual verse that the new verse is just great. It brings everything like of what Disney's about, together and shows you like, damn. I heard it, I just read it, and then I'm like, damn, that's just wild. It's just so cool.
and yeah, and you look at the lyrics and you hear how it is presented, how it's sung with the
Yeah.
melody. You would think that it was already part of the
Ab-
original song.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I'm not a
Since
that's
that
why
was,
I'm not a composer, so I guess.
yeah. So since that was your number 9, so I'll move on to my number 9. Now mine
Okay.
was kind of like a duo, so to speak. My number 9 was the Storybook Land Canal Boats and
I
Casey
was
Jr.
I was
Circus.
shaking my head when you said, I'm like, what the hell is he talking about?
Yep, and that's why and that's why I made the Storybook Land my thumbnail, because I mentioned in the very beginning there are some choices that a lot of people would kind of like, yeah, shake their heads exactly what you
I'm
did,
like,
like,
what the
why?
hell is he talking about? I mean,
And I think the reason why I added that into my list, and again, it's further back, but these are two attractions, even though they're more considered like kid friendly or family
mhm,
friendly. It's something that you can see in the international parks, but as far as the domestic parks go, they never brought those two attractions to Walt Disney World.
right.
And what I love about them is how intricate they are to one another, of how they kind of share that same amount of space, kind of like on
Mhm,
that little island with a little, waterway around it, that you can get different perceptions of whatever ride you're on. If you're on Storybook, you can kind of look up, see Casey Jr., or if you're on Casey Jr., you can look down and see the boat, the boat where the people are going on the tour through like the different stories of the animated films. And then you're on Casey Jr. and you're hearing the Casey Jr.'s going
yep.
down the track. It just kind of like puts you in that moment. It gives you that Fantasyland, Disneyland kind of, feel. So that's why that was added into my list.
I totally get it, and don't get me wrong, I like them, but there's like, I think 55 rides at the 2 parks. I'm like, that's not my top 10, but I love Storybook. Storybook is so cool. It's just
Mhm.
so much fun. The train, the same thing. I like almost every ride at Disneyland. So this list was hard for me because there's a lot. I'm like, well, I could go there, but then I don't. Teacups, I hate. Well, Teacups would be 55 if that's the number. That would be the worst. It's the worst ride ever. But um I agree with you. Storybook and Casey Jr. are great. All these that we're talking about are great. It's just a matter of, and for fun of
Their
why would
placement.
you not put Pirates in your top 10? Just totally doesn't make sense to me still. So but that's okay. You fired me up, man. I'm sorry.
You're good. That's what brings
Yeah.
the conversation, because again, it's like you have to kind of, now if I was just doing a Disneyland top 10 and a Walt Disney World top 10, then my list would be completely different. But when you're
Sure.
trying to like intertwine both resorts and you really have to kind of pick, what you would consider like this over that,
Right.
I
Right.
had to even like switch my numbers up a little bit. For just like, oh my gosh, like I have to put this in. And then I'm thinking like my honorable mentions, and I'm like, oh shoot, well, these could have actually been uh in my actual 10. Maybe I should have just did a 55, ride countdown.
We'll do that one
Probably would
day.
have
We'll
been
sit
much
we'll
better.
sit here one day and, is this list now your Disneyland DCA list, or is this your list from the other day?
No, this is my list from the other day.
Okay, do you have a list of the top 10 right now?
So just for Disneyland
Yeah, in DCA?
and DCA, yeah,
I
yeah.
think I missed the assignment, so maybe because that's what
No,
I did
no,
was
you're good.
okay,
Yeah, I
okay,
have
good,
that list too.
okay. Well, let's
Yeah.
still so what's your so just to verify, on your Disneyland DCA list, what's your number 10?
So on my number 10 is still it's a small world.
Okay, is it still the
Um,
same list?
what's that? As
What's
far
number?
well, no, I have like the ones that were added into Disneyland, like they're still in there, but their numbers have changed because
Okay,
I
fair.
put because I
Alright.
took the Walt Disney World ones out, and then I had to
Okay, gotcha.
switch some
Okay,
stuff up.
perfect.
Yeah,
Alright.
yeah. So what's your number 8?
My number 8 is the very first attraction that was started to be built at Disneyland, a year before the park opened, which was the Jungle Cruise.
I'm sorry, which was what?
The Jungle Cruise.
Oh, Jungle Cruise.
Yeah,
Okay.
Jungle Cruise is great. So much fun. I gutted this thing like 3 times last night, this list. I'm like, "Nope, what about this?" And like, but yeah, Jungle Cruise is great. The story behind it, um, it's just very cool. Like the fact that, the stories and the history of Walt complaining that when he was in the apartment that he could hear the cruise and they had to turn it off at night so he could sleep. Just those kind of things, and it's just so much fun too. It's corny, it's the jokes, and I love that it came from being like this serious thing until Mark Davis decided to go ahead and change it and make it funny, which I think was just the best move ever. So yeah, Jungle Cruise is great.
Now let me ask you this, because now this may get you a little bit heated for this question, but you know
Sure,
what?
sure.
For the sake of it, I'm going to ask.
Go ahead.
Do you see down the road, and when I say down the road, I don't mean like 1, 2 years. I'm talking about like 10, 15, 20 years down the road. Do you see the Jungle Cruise staying for what it is now? And do you think it would keep its relevancy that further down without it getting a change or a refurb or an IP attached to it?
An IP would be weird. I mean, that would just. I think that would be odd. Do you mean like just like the some of the stories, or like the jokes they're telling, like being like off,
No, no,
like
I mean like a
okay.
complete like change. Like the Jungle Cruise would never not be the Jungle
Oh
Cruise.
no, no, you're talking crazy right now. But I mean, I can't say that. I mean, whoever thought the Tower of Terror was going to go away? But
Right.
but I don't know what I would do. I mean, I'm a fan of keeping the lagoon with the submarines, and but most people aren't. They're like, we can, but I'm like such a history buff for Disneyland that I you can't touch that. You can't touch that, but you're gonna have to touch that stuff eventually. Like the treehouse.
Well,
You
and
know, you,
that's actually a good question. If it was up to you, would you touch nothing at Disneyland and just keep it the way it is with nothing like new as far as like replacement wise? Now with like Disneyland Forward, they will have the Lilo and Stitch parking lots that they can
Mhm.
add more. But like once that is utilized, would you just keep Disneyland as like the vintage nostalgic way of how
because
people?
of because of what it is,
Yeah.
because of who created it, and because
Mhm.
that's the only park that Walt Disney actually worked on. Yes, I would not change anything. I know logistically you can't not change stuff because stuff's going to
Right.
break. I mean, we're talking about the Matterhorn. We're talking about, the submarines probably can't launch. The submarines are the most expensive ride in the park to operate because they have
Yeah.
to maintain it.
Mhm.
So there's going to become a time when they have to. If, personally, I would say don't touch anything because I go there not as a normal, like, I'm going to go check all this stuff out. I need new things. I go there as, damn, this is cool. Damn, this is, the simplicity of how a ride is made, or like even like Tiki Room. I was talking to someone the other day. The Tiki Room is so loud when they're in there going clap, 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 clap. You know, but it's the coolest thing ever because that's where audio animatronics started. You can't touch that. You can't get rid of that. Will it happen someday? Probably. Will everything probably be changed? If you change Pirates or Mansion or a few things, you're gonna have a lot of issues with Mr. Shawn. But yeah,
Well,
so
yeah. Well, even Abby would have something to say about that if they ever considered taking Pirates out.
oh god.
She's like, they could take. She said they could take anything else in the park. Do not touch our Pirates.
I mean, I'm giving away my number one, which you probably already figured out, but I completely agree with Abby. That's the ride. That's you watch Imagineering Story. That's the ride that everyone that set the freaking standard of what Disneyland does and who they are. That one right there, like damn, over 100 audio animatronics, still 60 something years later, still working with the same kind of technology. I mean, they made a few changes and upgraded some things, yes, but it's basically the same thing from 60 years ago.
Yeah.
Yeah,
so same layout. I mean, they can't, they didn't touch it. And I do Pirates, the building itself is they can't touch that, as far as
I agree.
The building itself. So hopefully, and that's what Abby was asking, like, does that also include the contents of what's in the building? And I said probably not, but I mean, I really can't foresee them touching Pirates. I could actually see them touching Jungle Cruise before Pirates.
I agree with you. To get back to your question, no, don't touch anything. If I had to say, but I love that Disneyland Forward's happening and we're getting new stuff. Now you asked me the same question about DCA, I would have a different answer. Yeah, you can change something. You could change Goofy Sky School from Mulholland Madness to Goofy Sky School. Change it to something else if you want. Why is that different? Because Disneyland's Disneyland in my mind. And it's just completely different for me than any other park. I've only been to Walt Disney World once, and I was 16 when I was there. So I don't remember it. I just remember that it was a really big Disneyland when I was there. I'm like, this is kind of cool, but it's just a big Disneyland. But yeah, I didn't mean to ramble on about your question, but no, don't change a damn thing.
Yeah, no. I'm glad you did because it's that's the name of the game for the conversation. So
for sure.
My number 8 is still going to be Alice in Wonderland. I absolutely love that dark ride. It's my favorite dark ride in all of Fantasyland. I don't know. I just feel like the complexity to it of how you start outside in the caterpillar. It takes you through the scenes of the movies, and then they put you coming outside again, but you're on top of the roof of the show building. And then they take you through the Mad Tea Party scene with Mad Hatter and March Hare. And the audio animatronics aren't like the best quality, but I think it's decent quality for a standard like Disney Fantasyland dark ride. And so that's why Alice in Wonderland for me is on my list, because as I said, it's my favorite Fantasyland dark ride.
Okay. Yeah, that's totally fair. I can completely agree with you. I don't agree with you at that spot, but I agree with you. It's a great ride. Again, you can't tell me a lot of these rides aren't great. It's just a matter of where they actually rank. You know what I mean? So that's.
Oh, shoot.
Uh-oh. What's the matter?
Literally. Okay. Phew. Okay. It didn't save. Literally, I moved my phone and it deleted my whole list. And luckily, it didn't save. So luckily, okay. We're good. Okay. All right. So moving on to what's your number 7?
My number 7, we're going to switch over to DCA for my next 3, actually. Incredicoaster would be my number 7. I love the Incredicoaster. It's just awesome. It's fun. I love the retheme of it. So you talk about, like, do you hate rethemes? No, I like the retheme of The Incredibles over California Screaming. But I don't think did you ever do California Screaming?
I have. Yes.
Okay. Yeah.
It just basically felt like a typical, seaside pier roller coaster.
Like an outdoor space. It's like an outdoor Space Mountain is the way I felt. Because with the music and stuff, it kind of reminded me of that. But I love Incredible. I love the Incredibles, the cookies, the smell of the cookie is just, come on, that's just cool Disney stuff. But the up and down, the whoop-de-whoop over that one part there, it's just Incredicoaster's cool.
And what a way to sell a cookie. Like for you to go on a roller coaster and you kind of get that scent of the Jack cookie Num Num, and then after you come off the ride, they have the cart right there with the little cartons of milk, and it's like
that's the best $6 cookie I've ever had, man. Damn, it's so good.
That's one of my mom's favorites. Like, she was
so
bummed
good.
because she hasn't been to Disneyland. She's never been to Disneyland. hopefully when we eventually move her out here,
Yeah.
she'll be able to experience it herself. But there was a time, and I don't even know if they still have it down there at Hollywood Studios, in like the Pixar area, that they did have a little cart with the Jack Jack cookie Num Num, and we didn't tell her. We were down there for vacation, and she lit up like a freaking Christmas tree, like she
It's
was
so
finally
good.
able to try the Jack Jack cookie Num Num. So she
So
absolutely
good.
loved it.
But the ride's great. I love the Incredicoaster. It's so much fun.
Yes. My number 7 is we're actually, yes, we're gonna go over to DCA, and my number 7 is Radiator Springs Racers. And I think for me, the reason why it's kind of still high up, because again, I feel like it's a great ride, but I feel
Oh
like
yeah.
there's a lot more other rides that are much better than that. The
Mhm.
scope of Radiator Springs Racers is phenomenal. Like, it's jaw dropping when you enter through San Francisco.
100%.
Um,
It's the visuals on that whole land are crazy.
Yeah, like I feel like that was for me the last Disney ride I felt like that they really took attention to detail of
Sure.
storyline aesthetically inside and out. Because as much as Rise of the Resistance and Mission Breakout and all that, they're great rides. Aesthetically on the outside, it's not what you call really the best appealing. Where with
I agree.
Radiator Springs Racers, you get the visuals and you get the thrill, you get the storyline, you get the awesome audio animatronics. And
Oh yeah.
remind me again why I have it at number 7.
Yeah, I know. And yeah, I'm gonna go back to you and OG's video. I think it was Sunday night. You guys talked about the land, Avengers land back there, Avengers hallway or whatever. But the new ride is coming up behind Radiator Springs, and I completely agree with you. If I hope they don't mess up that view when you walk through from San Francisco. They'll do something. It might be something like they did for Runaway. Well, they'll just put like maybe clouds on the side of the building to where it looks like
Mhm.
clouds, but that could work. You might not see the building as much, but if that building's as big as y'all talking about, then it's gonna impede on the view. But I gotta hope it isn't. Like you said, that view when you're walking there and the cars are racing by, and then you smell the fried the Flo's chicken. It's just Radiator. Yeah, why is it so low on my list too? That's crazy because it's number 6 on my list. So just
Oh,
so
okay.
yeah. So I'm just like yeah, but yeah, that's just yeah, it's a great ride.
Absolutely. So since that was your number
6.
6,
Yep.
so we'll move to my number 6,
Yeah.
which staying at DCA is Mission Breakout. Um, so for me, I didn't know how exactly I would feel about them removing Tower of Terror
Completely
because
agree. I was pissed.
I could
Yeah.
I could
That was the
imagine.
first time I'm like, you don't mess with stuff. No, but then okay, maybe sometimes you do. You know what I mean? That was the first
Yeah,
time I'm like, God, it was so much fun. I
because
was
I'm
there like
like,
2 days after it opened. It was so much fun.
yeah, because I'm like, oh man, it's Tower of Terror. I don't know how I feel about that because a lot of times I resonate with the Tower of Terror at Hollywood Studios,
Sure,
and I
sure.
still did, ride the one here in California, and I'm like, okay, but it's still Tower of Terror, and I'm like, how are they transforming this into Guardians of the Galaxy? It's a drop
Yeah.
sequence ride. Like, how do you do that in space?
Yep.
And it's like, but then when they made the story that
Oh, absolutely. You're like, okay, makes sense.
yeah, exactly. Like the Guardians were captured by the Collector. They're being held captive. It's our job to help break them out, and
Yada
it's like
yada
set the
yada yada.
yeah, it's like set the music, and it's
Yeah.
like, and then the intensity of the ride itself was like so much. Again, because I'm a thrill junkie, I absolutely
Sure.
love the intensity that they put to it. Because now every time I go on Tower of Terror down Florida, I still love it as the Twilight Zone. I love that
Mm-hmm.
anticipation. But as far as the drops go, I'm like, damn, this is kind of weak compared
Yeah.
to Mission Breakout.
Yeah. Mission Breakout is it's my number 5. So we can talk more about it. Uh, like I said, when they did that, I'm like, this. Why would you change this? And that's then they showed the design. I'm like, that looks stupid when they're like showing the design, what's going to look like. This is ridiculous. And they did it in 6 months. They switched
Uh,
that whole thing. And they closed it in January of that same year, and it
yeah, I think
opened
it
in
was 9
maybe
months.
5 months. Oh, what? Oh, then
9 months.
okay, you're right. I apologize. Yeah, so still just six,
But
nine
yeah,
months.
less than a year to
Yeah, absolutely
transform.
wild.
Yeah, and I could kind of see how they did it with the exterior because that's like, okay, the
Mhm.
exterior they can get done within 9 months. And I'm like,
Yeah.
okay, is that just what they did? But then once you get inside and you're like, wow, was this really the Hollywood Tower Hotel?
Yeah, and then all the hidden gems that are in there, all the stuff that is in the collector's, Herald and Figment and the dog, the space dog. You're just like, what the hell? Is it one of Loki's things, sabers or something in there as well? One of his
Hmm.
staffs. It's just like, where'd they get all this stuff? And obviously they just went to the prop house and got everything, but still, it's just like, damn, what a great idea. And
Yeah, a big chunk of Ultron, like in
yeah,
the display, and they actually interact too. Like you could see Ultron's like static coming through, and Cosmo the dog, his head kind of like
it's just
moves back and forth.
such good. Thank you, Joe Rody, for seriously, man. That's good. That's good stuff, man.
And the fact that he opened both Pandora
Yep.
and Mission Breakout on the same day,
Yeah.
that he literally went from one side of the coast to the other to open these things up in the
Yep.
same day is like beyond spectacular to any incredible feat that any Imagineer has achieved.
100%. I Mission Breakout. It makes me sick. I'm not gonna lie. But it's worth it. I'll be sick. I'll be nauseous for a half hour to go on that ride because that's usually what happens. Don't go on Mission Breakout and then Incredicoaster back to back. That's just my professional tip because I was done for like 2 hours after that. But I get a little nauseous because but still, like both of them back to back. Whew, but so much fun. I love it. I love Mission Breakout and the music and that one time when like right before it's over and it's like da 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 da, and then it just shoots you back up again. It's the best, man.
Yeah, and I love how like you get randomized songs, and the
Yeah,
songs that they pick like are classic songs just within their own right, but how they fit well with the storyline and the movies, the franchise, and
yep.
then of how it fits well with the movement of the ride vehicle is just it just pumps you up.
Oh, 100%. What's your favorite song?
Oh boy. Mine would have to be it was I think the Jackson 5 one.
Mine too. I want you
Yeah.
back. Yep, that's
Yeah.
mine too. That's the best.
Yeah.
Everyone gets excited for Born to Be Wild. Everyone just screams for Born to Be Wild, but it is Born to Be Wild, right? Yeah. Is that one of them?
Born to be wild. I think
Yeah,
so.
I think that's
Yeah.
one of them. Yeah, but yeah, Jackson 5 is great.
Yeah, absolutely. Now that was your number 5.
That was my 5. So now we're to your 5.
Okay. So, my number 5 is staying over at DCA. My number 5 is the Incredicoaster. Now, as much as I feel like the Mission Breakout has much more attention to detail within the storyline, but me, I just love a good coaster. And
Yeah.
I think the Incredicoaster has everything. It has the launch, it has the drops, it has the bunny hills, it has the loop, and then you have the Incredibles soundtrack going off.
Yep.
You're kind of like following the Incredibles, like trying to catch Jack and yeah, it's just a fun coaster. I
It's like
absolutely
cookie. I love that
sometimes
part. It's cookie.
yeah, cookie, dum dum cookie. Which I feel like the second drop is much more intense than the first one.
Oh yeah.
Like when, especially like if you're in the back, and right as he's saying like cookie, cookie, and then it just like pulls you,
Oh
and then you're
yeah.
like, my God.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
Love it. Love
yeah,
it.
the Incredicoaster is my number 5.
Perfect. All right, I will go to my number 4. My last 4 are all in Disneyland proper. So
Mhm.
number 4, which I'm surprised you didn't even put down as an honorable mention, is the Disneyland Railroad, which is
I
just
thought of that too after the
just
fact. I was
just I'm like the Disneyland. I literally most of the time, if I'm not rope dropping, if I get to Disneyland a little later, I will just walk in and get on the railroad and just take that tour, circle tour, get a feel for the park. You see everything. How's the park looking today? And you just get, yeah, I love the Disneyland Railroad, and because it's a huge, my actual ringtone on my phone is all aboard the Disneyland Limited EP Ripley. That's literally my ringtone if someone was to call me. So I just love the Disneyland Railroad because Walt loved trains, and so it's cool. Have you been? So completely off topic. I know you're here in Southern California now. Have you been to the Carrollwood Barn yet?
the
In
Walt's
Griffith
Barn.
Park, the Walt's
Yeah.
Barn. Have you been
Yeah.
there yet?
Walt's Barn. Yeah.
Good stuff. Good stuff.
Yeah. I actually ended up, I bought a souvenir shirt.
Oh, right on.
the day that I actually went, because we went there. We went to the barn, and then we had lunch at Tam O'Shanter.
God. So side story. I turned 50 2 years ago, and bunch of friends, Lewis from the podcast, and Amanda, and so many people, Joey, all from our show, got together, and I was down there on my 50th birthday. I was literally in Anaheim, stayed there for 4 days. A friend got the lightsaber built for me for my birthday. Lewis put together like this tour of he just called it the Disney tour, and it was for my birthday. It was like his houses. It was we went to the Walt Disney auditorium, whatever it's called, that big old silver thing in downtown LA, the Walt Disney
Concert Hall.
Concert hall. Yeah, we went there. Went to the Imagineering building and to the studios. We couldn't walk in, but we walked up to the door of Imagineering. It was like a Saturday, so they were closed. It was very, very cool. Finished, and then we finished the tour. They took me to Forest Lawn, and I'd never been to Walt Disney's grave. That was
so basically everything that you did, I did that day, minus the concert hall and Walt Disney Imagineering. But we saw Walt and Roy's houses.
Yep.
And
in
then
Burbank, the one in Burbank.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what they put this together for me for my birthday, and then we finished off with dinner at Tam O'Shanter. We got to sit in the Walt's table, and it was just the best ever. But sorry, didn't mean to.
No. I'm sorry I cut you off, because that was funny, because we literally we stopped by the houses. We had lunch at Tam O'Shanter, and then we went to the barn. Mm-hmm. And everything. We didn't go to the merry-go-round. I don't know why we didn't. The carousel.
We did that. That was something like, that's it, really? We did. I've been there a couple of times. The carousel, just like, that's it. Okay.
Yeah.
And they have a little sign that says that Walt was, but still. Have you seen the carousel?
I have. Yeah, we did. Yeah, we for some reason I forget why we didn't. I think it rained that day, so it wasn't really. But then we went up to Forest Lawn.
Man,
that was an experience I don't think I've ever experienced. Like, I'm getting goosebumps just even.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Like, just being in the presence of his resting place,
mm-hmm.
to know that that's where his ashes was. Yep. And, we each bought a rose and we placed it down, out of respect for him. And it was just like, it was a very solemn kind of.
Oh, absolutely. I honestly didn't realize it, because you're like, it's kind of back in the back by itself, and there's a little gate in there and stuff. And and I was just standing there, and I didn't even realize it. And I have a picture that they took. I'm just standing there like staring, and I didn't realize it. I'm like tearing up thinking about it. It was like 20 minutes later, and they're like, "You want to go, buddy?" Or because I was just taking it all in. And Walt Disney is like everything to me. I mean, his drive, his work ethic, everything. Again. The partner statue tattoo right there, and it's just everything about him is just and it all just hit me. I was going through a divorce at the same time, and it was literally on my 50th birthday, standing in front of his grave was just the most crazy, like you said, they're definitely.
It's funny. It was I think the same thing for me. It was around the time when my divorce was being finalized.
Yeah,
I was taken up there.
You just realize, shit, I can, and it's kind of like really do whatever I want. You know what I mean? And I was at that point where it's going to be okay. And I'm not trying to take the show down, but that stuff was that was amazing. So
and I'm glad we were talking about it, because that's what I love, and that's what we also do on Orange Grove 55 is like. We pick a topic, we stick to the topic, but even the side stories of like how
absolutely
certain things, like it's absolutely great, to hear to hear the stories. No, I'm sorry, you said your number 4.
My number 4 was Disneyland Railroad.
That was the Disneyland Railroad.
So
which actually kind of going back to that, I'm actually surprised. Like, I think if I could probably redo that whole, because I even realized I even left some things out even with Walt Disney World. That probably could have hit the list. I probably would have to make a much bigger list. I think that was my problem. Just
a list per park. You've been to a lot of places, so you could do like a list per park. And like
that I could probably do.
Yeah.
So my number 4, actually now all of these are going to go back to Disneyland. So my number 4 is Disneyland's Space Mountain.
Yep.
I probably would I go back on Walt Disney World? I don't know. It's like worse than Matterhorn, to be honest with you. Like I can handle Matterhorn. I love Matterhorn, but
Mm-hmm.
Space Mountain at Walt Disney World, Magic Kingdom, like is a no for me. I just love the classic music of used for Space Mountain. It's much more smoother. I love how it has the side by side seats instead of like the front to back.
Mm-hmm.
I love how they change it up. Like they used to do the Ghost Galaxy for Halloween. They do the Hyperspace Mountain for Season of the Force and all that.
Right.
So yeah, so Space Mountain's my number 4.
Okay. And
then
so my number 3.
Yep.
My number 3 is Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. Just love it. I absolutely love it. So much fun. The theming on that is one of the coolest themes. It's kind of like Radiator Springs. So just the theming and like the depth, like if you look at it of how far back it is, like with the mountain in the back, and I just love it. And it's corny too. You know, you got the goat trick. The goat is cool as hell. But then like that part when you're going up the thing and like the fire, you know, the dynamite's going up the side. And I just love it. Big Thunder Mountain's so cool. So much fun.
Yeah, I do love that ride. I'm kind of like in the position right now where I don't know which one I prefer better, Disneyland's or Magic Kingdom's.
Mm-hmm.
Especially now since Magic Kingdom is getting upgrade with all the special effects and everything.
Right.
So I guess I can kind of like them equally. You know, I don't think one for me right now is superior than the other, but it is a fun ride. Like it's one of those rides, like especially if you have a young kid that they don't know if they're like into roller coasters yet, but they want to get like test the waters.
Absolutely.
I think Big Thunder is like the best, you know,
totally
way to start them. Yeah. So my number 3 for Disneyland. Now, again, it is now into the list because I just did Disneyland, and this is what I should have done. So my number 3 is the Haunted Mansion.
Okay.
Particularly for Disneyland.
Just so you all understand that he didn't have that on his list at all last time. So
yes,
he gave it an honorable mention for the Haunted Mansion.
Yes.
Honorable mention. Come on.
Yes. So actually on my Disneyland list, the Haunted Mansion, I absolutely love, especially what they did with the outside queue. They made it so much better, not even just for operation wise for guest flow, but just the storyline literally starts outside. And I love how they transform it into Haunted Holiday for Halloween and Christmas. I thought that was genius to incorporate the Nightmare Before Christmas into that. And so I absolutely love the Haunted Mansion, especially the stretching room, because you actually go down in an elevator and again go outside the berm. So that's Disney getting creative for what they had to utilize. So Haunted Mansion is my number 3.
Is it, do you have a preference of holiday or regular?
Ooh, that's a hard one. I still think I prefer the classic 100%. Haunted Mansion. 100%. But I do appreciate like when it does become haunted. But like if it had to be permanent, it has to be the classic Haunted Mansion.
I agree. That's my number 2. Haunted Mansion is my number 2. So there you go. It's just it's just one of the best. It's just one of the best things. You know, that's another one of the ones that you're like, you really can't change too much of. You really shouldn't change too much of it. Like the whole freaking paint cans for the lights and this in the graveyard scene. You please never change that kind of cool stuff. That's what they did back then. Was just these little touches that you wouldn't even think about noticing. You know, please don't change that stuff because it's just so cool. You can hear the when the one guy's head pops up, you can hear it.
Yes.
Please don't change that because that's just cool. It just shows you what was thought of 60 years ago. You know, that just blows my mind that kind of stuff was thought about 60 years ago. You know, but yeah, that's my number 2.
Awesome. So my number 2 is Pirates of the Caribbean. I kind of put Pirates, like when I'm just talking about Disneyland, Pirates and Haunted kind of go hand in hand, but I always kind of give Pirates a little bit of a one-up over Haunted because I just feel like the attention to detail of the scope of Pirates, because actually my favorite room, so to speak, is the kind of like the cavern where you're turning after the final drop. You make the turn and it has the Like it's just
When it's
playing the
just when it's
melody.
just so dark, and
Yeah, it's just so
it's so
dark,
cool,
and
so cool.
it's like I actually prefer those scenes
Oh,
first before it
absolutely.
actually gets
And the
into.
Goofy, you know about the Goofy Rock, right?
Yes,
Okay, all
yes,
right. The Goofy
yeah,
Rock is cool.
yeah. The Goofy Rock, the actual human skull.
Yes,
Yeah,
that's
absolutely.
so good. Pirates. I've already said it. Pirates is my number one, so we talk about it for a second. But it's just so good. Um, I agree with Abby. If they ever decided to get rid of Pirates of the Caribbean, I don't even know if I could go Disneyland anymore. But I say that now, but I would still go. But I'd be so angry. But they
You'd be
never will.
very
They
salty.
never will. They never will. They never will get rid
I
of it.
don't see how they could.
It's
Like
Walt's.
really.
It's Walt's last attraction. It's the last thing
Yeah,
he worked on.
yeah.
You know.
So there has to be something like in a clause that
Yeah.
like
And according to rumor, his head's buried underneath there, so you can't get rid of that anyway. His frozen head is buried underneath Pirates. That's like the rumor. So you can't get rid of Pirates.
right. Oh jeez. But yeah, so my number one obviously stays at number one. I know
Well,
it's
that
not on
should,
your
should we
list.
do honorable mention? A couple honorable mentions before we hear your number one.
Yes, yes. Go ahead.
Well, tell us. I mean, I I'm shocked neither one of us mentioned Rise of the Resistance. um, Mickey's Runaway Railway is better than Rise of the Resistance in my opinion. I think that one there. And then on my honorable mention would be Space Mountain. Space Mountain as well would be on there. I like it, but it didn't crack the top 10. It was right there with Matterhorn. I feel like it's an indoor Matterhorn. That's kind of how I look at those two rides. But those are my three honorable mentions.
Okay. Yeah, my honorable mention will be Rise of the Resistance. I think for me is I love the ride.
Mm-hmm.
It's a phenomenal ride. I think for me though, after experiencing it like from beginning to end, it kind of gets a little monotonous after a while when you have to go through the process of getting on the ride. Now, again, I know that they have it for great storytelling for people who have not yet went on the ride, or if it's their first time, it's like the scope of going on the first order ship and everything. But for me, it's just like, can we bypass all this and just put me on the ride before it shuts down?
100%. Yeah.
That's just for me. Another honorable mention for me is the Walt Disney World Railroad. I prefer it so much more better over Magic Kingdoms. Magic
Mm-hmm.
Kingdom is basically an atrocity that they just take you through backstage area, and it's like
Yeah.
nothing even really appealing to look at.
Yeah.
But the fact that they have like the diorama of like the Grand Canyon that goes into the dinosaurs, that's where Disney did dinosaurs right. Just by that,
Absolutely.
like that's what
Absolutely.
they should have done with Dinosaur.
Yeah.
Down at Animal Kingdom. Like if they would have stuck to that formula, that would have been much better. So yeah, that's my honorable mention. And then but yeah, my number one is Indiana Jones. Again, for all the reasons that we mentioned earlier, I just love the storyline. I love the queue. I love the creativity of how we go into the temple and just with the ride vehicles and the system and the visual effects and all that good jazz. Just for me, the fact that that ride was built in 1995
Yeah.
and how it withstood the test of time of how far it came. And also too, as I said, my future father-in-law worked on the ride vehicles. So
That's very
now
cool.
I actually have a piece of that history being like married into it, no pun
That's so
intended.
cool. That's so cool.
That I thought it was really cool. I actually joke with him all the time. I say, you do know that you worked on the ride vehicles for my all-time favorite ride at Disneyland. He went, oh yeah, Indiana Jones. I was like, no, Winnie the Pooh.
Winnie the Pooh, absolutely. Yeah.
Yes.
Indiana Jones is great. I like it, and I even put it on my honorable mentions. I don't go on it that often. I go on it because half the time I'm there, honestly, it's broken, which is sad because it is very cool. I love that the part the where you're sitting in the room actually slides over you. Tony Baxter said he got that idea in a car wash. It's just the way that they think of these ideas for these things is like regular things, but they just put it onto great. These are great lists.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm glad that we broke it down just with like Disneyland and DCA.
Sure.
I think I'll probably do that moving on, but I do love how it was challenging for me to try to combine it all into a top 10 list because it is very hard.
I was like, and when you said what you were going to do, I'm like, how's he going to do this? You know, I mean, I
Yeah,
was like, how's he going to figure out? And then your list was great. I just had issues with some of it, but
of course.
that's
Yes.
just me. But that's just me. I'm a
Yes.
very opinionated person.
Absolutely. And hey, I enjoy that because again,
Yeah,
this is what creates, topics like this and creates
100%.
conversation to put out content. So I absolutely welcome it. Uh I love opinions. I love constructive criticism. I'm I'm all for it, but before we get out of here, Shawn, do you have any final thoughts on everything we talked about?
That's It was just fun. I'm glad we got to do this. Like I said, you pissed me off the other day, and I'm like, I got it. I'm like messaging George, and I'm thinking he's probably at Disneyland. He's never going to get this message, and he answered me back right away. Oh yeah, let's do something. I said, we got to do a collab because I got issues with your list, brother. And he's like, no, let's do this. And no, it's fun. It's fun to do this talk. It's fun to. I don't get to go on a lot of like our other shows, like our Extra Magic Hour, because it's just parks and the Imagineering show that we have because I'm busy. So when I can find time to talk about the parks, that's my absolute favorite thing. Thank you for giving me the opportunity to do that. So I really truly
Absolutely.
appreciate that because I don't get to do it enough. I run a show on Wednesday night that's about everything, but the whole thing. I love talking about the parks. I can talk about history. I can talk about the crack in the glass at Haunted Mansion. I can talk about anything. I love this part of what we do. So
Awesome.
thank
Well,
you for
and
having me.
before we go, if you want to remind everyone where they could find you on social media.
Sure. Just check us out. TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, Walt's Apartment Productions. Really easy. Yeah, we were a Walt's Apartment podcast, but now we're productions because we're doing YouTube and stuff like that too. So, but just check us out. We appreciate it. Love OG55. Love Citrico. You guys are the best. Love having you guys on. I messaged you guys yesterday, so you both want to be on in a couple of weeks, and neither one of you answered back. So thank you for that. I appreciate that. No, but yeah,
I didn't.
you guys are the best. So I
Thank
appreciate
you.
you guys, and I like building these communications and these things. And now we're all in a place. You're here, I'm here. Maybe we got to get together soon in the park. So for sure.
Absolutely.
My
Yes.
pass isn't good to get until August, so because I have the enchant key, which I'll be upgrading once I can upgrade. But yeah,
Yeah.
it's
Nice.
time to upgrade.
Yeah. One of my magic keys isn't good till August,
Right.
and then that's actually when it expires. But I'm upgrading that to the Inspire.
There you go.
So that way I'll have 12 reservations altogether.
And give my best to Abby. I hope she's doing well.
Yes, absolutely. Yeah,
Sorry, I said hello.
she's at work, and hopefully, yeah, we'll be able to get her on too.
Yeah, that'd be fun. That'd be
Guys,
fun
that'd
for
be
sure.
fun.
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. So, everyone, thank you for joining us today. Please comment down below your opinions, your thoughts. If you want to add in your list, we would love to hear from all of you. And as I always say in Disney Italiano fashion, stay safe, stay healthy, stay Disney Italiano.